Thanks so much, Greg. I really appreciate it. Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to fly through this, so buckle up. We're going to do about 60 minutes of eliminate the noise and regain the focus. And then we'll take questions at the end. So write them down, put them in the chat, and we'll go from there. So a lot going on these days. You know, we're trying to avoid World War III. The price of everything from oil to pizza has doubled. And now, you know, the stock market's getting crazy, a lot of volatility out there. So how do you deal with all this? How do you eliminate the noise and regain the focus? It's what we're going to talk about today. I want you to seriously think about if you want to grow your business and how much and how fast you would like to grow it. This talk is going to help take you there. Just a little 2-minute background, not even, on myself. For those of you who are not familiar, I'm a 30+ year veteran in the financial services industry, built a nationwide planning and investment clientele. This is what I do for financial advisors. I have an elite advisor mentoring program for those advisors who are making 500,000 or more, or those who want to make 500,000 or more, or you're making 500, but you want to take home $1 million and not get divorced in the process. I'm your man. We have guaranteed marketing programs. And then I also help advisors sell their business. I find the buyers, I negotiate the deals, I make them stick so you don't have to take it back in shambles in 2 years. Then I also collaborate with financial advisors around the country to bring legacy planning, master planning for business owners, and tax reduction plans to your clients. This is a huge foot in the door. So if anybody wants to learn how to do that and collaborate, let me know at the end or get in touch and we'll go from there. As Greg mentioned, I'm in a book, 2 books and a movie. Success is a State of Mind, Les Brown, Mark Victor Hansen, Deepak Chopra. I'm in another book that I wrote called Take It to the Max. Of course, what else, right? Proven Principles for Achieving 200% Success in Business and Life. I'm also in a movie called The Keeper of the Keys with Dr. John Gray, Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul. And those are the keys to success. I'm a huge believer in personal development as a basis for professional success. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today, but we're going to cover 3 main areas. Number 1, I'm going to show you how to develop an elite advisor mindset so you can stay focused and eliminate the noise. Number 2, I'm going to show you how to set, quote, impossible, seemingly impossible goals. And then number 3, I'm going to show you specifically how you can organize your time for the maximum productivity and the least amount of success. So you should all have a handout and you'll see numbers in there. And you see the number 1 to the left, that means that's your fill in the blank. 90% of your success depends on what happens right here between your ears. So what's your idea of success? Dr. Albert Schweitzer, famous philanthropist, theologian, musician, said success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. We all like to do business with people who are happy. Be that happy person and the success follows. It's not you're going to get all this stuff and it's going to make you happy. If you're a top advisor at this meeting, you know that by now. How much stuff do you need? We live in the greatest country in the world in the greatest time in history, despite all the problems we have. Look at some of the other countries, what they're going through, right? So we know that more stuff is not making us happy. And that's the problem. This is what I mean by 200% success in life. 100% outer achievement along with 100% inner fulfillment. It's the inner fulfillment part that's making a lot of people challenged right now. So we're going to deal with that right here, right now. Pay attention. Or as Max Bolka likes to say, money can't buy happiness, but it can allow you to be miserable in a much nicer part of town. So I just throw that in because I have to entertain myself on these things. So there are 2 beliefs that top advisors have, a belief system that they adopt. Number 1, they believe it's possible. Is it really possible to double your income, work 4 days a week, travel around the world, and be the best parent or grandparent you could possibly be? Do you believe it's possible and add in anything else you want? Well, it's pretty easy to prove today that almost anything is possible. Look it up on the internet. There's somebody who's doing it. You can model yourself after what they're doing, and it's possible. I would venture to say if we have enough people on this webinar or there's enough people in a live audience in a room, that person is in that room. But I know we have a limited number here today, so look it up on the internet. I have advisors. That's part of what I do is I show advisors what other top advisors are doing. So it is possible no matter what you're talking about. it's easy to prove. So now that leaves the second part of this belief system, which is it possible for you? And that's just another way of saying, do you believe you deserve it? Do you really believe you deserve to double your income, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Most people would say no, they don't believe it. They make up all these excuses. But is it really possible for you? So the conclusion I've come to after well over 30 years in this business is you earn what you do, because this is how much you've allowed yourself to earn at this point in time. You earn what you do because that's how much you've allowed yourself to earn right now. You make excuses. The 25-year-old makes excuses. The 55-year-old makes excuses. The 75-year-old makes excuses. We have a thermostat, right? A success thermostat. It just works just like a regular thermostat. If you put it in 70 degrees in the room and the room gets too cold, it goes down to 65, what happens? Thermostat kicks in, the heat comes on, and it goes back up to 70. We're the same way. If you're making 250,000 a year, and you're off, and you're having a bad year, and you're only going to do 200, man, you come in an hour early, you make more phone calls, you go to more networking, you find a way, and you get that back up to 250, right? Because there's no way you're going to make less than that. Your success thermostat is at that level. But the opposite is also true. Let's go the other way. You have a really good year, you make 350. And it's December and we're checking in. You say, Max, I had a record year. It's 350. It's 100 more than I had last year. What's the next thought that most people have, most advisors? How am I ever going to do that again next year? I had that really one big case that carried me through. Then where am I going to find another case like that? And the mind just starts going. They have a hard time accepting that they could be a $350,000 advisor. So the success thermostat works both ways. And that's why it says on the screen, one of the goals is to set your success thermostat higher. Now, this works in other areas of life too. We know people who, the success goes this way, the money goes this way, the love goes this way. We're so used to not having, let's fill in the blank, love. Bad relationships is all we've ever had. The right person comes along, the right man, the right woman comes along for you. What do? We turn them into the wrong person because we're not used to it. We don't know how to deal with it. We haven't set our love thermostat higher. So this concept of having a thermostat extends to all areas of life, but it's definitely with money and business and success, okay? So I'm going to share with you two universal principles of success that top advisors adhere to. Number one, your thoughts, your attitudes, your belief create the experience of your own individual reality. We don't live in the same world. We don't live in the same world. The financial advisor in New Jersey or the Wall Street broker and the homeless person in Chicago and the movie actor in LA, totally different worlds, totally different worlds. And we have limiting beliefs, right? And it's our thoughts, our attitudes and beliefs that limit what we're doing. Where did these beliefs come from? You're too fat, you're too thin, you're too this, you're too that. You're undereducated, you're overeducated. You have to work hard to get a good education. You live in the wrong side of town. Your territory is too small. There's not enough money in it. Your territory is too big and unyielding. You can't get to it all. Where do these beliefs come from? If you listen to other people, you're going to end up like them. Do you really want to end up like them? What if they're wrong? What if you really can work 4 days a week, double your income, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? What if they're wrong? What if all the criticism that they're leveling at you is just self-criticism, their own beliefs, right? Because they don't have the guts to do it, to go for it. So they want to tell you, no, it's unrealistic. Don't listen to Bolka. He doesn't know, he's just the speaker. Da, 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 da. You can't do that, Greg, because whatever. That's just the reflection of their own shortcomings, their own self-judgment. Okay, we're looking for people who want to fly here. We're looking for the ones who want to be elite advisors. What if they're wrong? Okay, change your attitude, you change your life. It's just that simple. This is how you create the experience of your own reality, because we all live in different worlds. Okay, the second principle, in addition to that one, is you are 100% personally responsible for your life and happiness. 100% per now. I get a lot of pushback on this. If we were in a live room, the hands go up, Max, they start folding them and you see them slouch back. And here's what they're thinking. I'll give you 60%, 70%, 80%, right? I believe if you don't take 100% personal responsibility for your situation, not for what happens to you, but how you feel about it and what you do with it. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, 100%. To the extent you don't do that, I believe you're a victim. And you got to grow into this one. We all have a challenge at some level. Okay, but Max, you don't understand. That's what everybody's thinking right now. A lot of people, you don't understand. You're not married to my spouse. You don't live in my state. You don't work for my company. I think there's a few more on here. You don't have kids, Max. You don't have to take care of parents. You don't have my financial hardships. You don't have my physical challenges, and on and on and on. Okay. And this is how you get out of taking 100% personal responsibility. But there is a word for all of these things. And you know what the words are. It has turned into a disease, and it's unspoken, and it's rampant, and very few people even know when they have it. And it's called the disease of excusatitis. Don't fall prey to the disease of excusatitis. I'm a huge basketball fan. Grew up in the Northeast, and I'm a huge basketball fan to this day. So Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, etc. They don't take excuses. Their goal is to be the best, right? Apollo 13, failure is not an option. You can't go into space and then say, well, it's not working out too well, let's go back. No excuses. Failure is not an excuse. Captain Kirk, the original captain, the one that we all should like the best. It's just the one I grew up with. Captain Kirk, the Kobayashi Maru, look it up. It's a no-win situation. It's testing for the cadets in Star Trek to become a Starfleet commander. And the computer won't let you win. It just wants to see how much stress you can handle. Kirk is the only one who passed that test. He beat the computer. And there's a famous scene, I think it's in the second Star Trek movie. They're stranded on the planet. It's about to blow up. And the young cadet who actually is Kirstie Alley from Cheers, she plays a Vulcan with pointed ears. She says, so you never really actually faced death, really actually faced a no-win situation, et cetera, et cetera. And he bites his apple and he calls on the communicator, which was supposed to be dead. And he says, are you there, Spock? Beam us up. And it was all a fake decoy to get rid of the Klingons and and it worked. And he has this shit-eating grin on his face and he looks at Kirstie Alley and he says, like I said, I don't like to lose. There are always options. You always have an option. You always have an option. You may not like the options, but you have them. Stop resisting them and start working with them. And don't fall prey to the disease of excusatitis. I think I have yeah. So what kind of person do you choose to be in the midst of your challenges to success, in the midst of blank, in the midst of poor health, excuse me, in the midst of financial challenges, in the midst of the world going crazy right now? I'm not in denial. We talked about it. The world is going freaking nuts right now. But what kind of person do you choose to be in the midst of all this? Because there are going to be winners and there are going to be losers. And I'm not just talking about whether you buy the right stocks or whatever. I'm talking about mentally, physically, emotionally, financially. You have control over how you feel, what you're going to do about it, not what happens to you. Some people are dealt a different set of cards. We all know these inspiring stories. The guy with no whatever, he's physically incapacitated, but he can talk on the phone and he makes more money than you and me put together. How does that happen? Because they took that challenge and they did what they could with it. Okay. So again, you earn what you do because that's how much you've allowed yourself to earn at this moment in time. And the rest of it is just excuses. The corollary is your income can grow only to the extent that you do. Okay. Stop making excuses. Have I made myself clear? Let's move on. Because success is just a habit. And all we're going to do here is substitute good habits or healthy habits or habits that work for you for those that don't. Or as Dr. Phil would say, how's that working for you? If it's not working for you, replace the habits. Stop doing it. Stop digging your own hole and start taking personal responsibility. So I want to share with you 6 steps to developing that elite advisor mindset, or what I call 6 steps to designing your destiny. The first one is you want to get centered. We live in a crazy world and it's getting crazier. So what do you do every morning? We call it a morning success routine. What's your morning success routine, or an hour of power? Some people call it an hour of power. Spiritual, mental, and physical. Some people get up, they do 20 minutes of meditating or prayer. They do 20 minutes of reading inspirational literature or personal development. And they work out for 20 minutes. When we logged on 20 minutes before this webinar, I was on the treadmill. Greg says, are you bouncing up and down? I said, yeah, I'll knock it off when we start the webinar. But I want to get that in. Why sit there for 20 minutes? You know, if you're going to sit all day working, and then you're going to come home and sit for your meal, and then you're going to sit in front of the TV, boy, after 30, 40 years, that's going to catch up with you. There's no reason for that. Okay. What's your hour of power? Get centered so you can stay centered throughout the day, every single day. Those of you who are married, you know your spouse doesn't want to wake up or an hour later have you being a grouch. Do what you need to do. Put on your own oxygen mask first, and then you can take care of everybody else. Get centered and stay centered. Number 2, let me ask you a question. If we were in a live room, I'd solicit answers here. What do you think is the biggest difference between an advisor making $100,000 a year and one making $500,000 a year? Are they that much smarter? Are they that much more organized, time management? Are they that much more charismatic? Are they that much better at time management or managing other people, leadership? Maybe, because we all have our differences, right? We were all made a little different, but that's not what the biggest difference is. The biggest difference is they think big. They think bigger. They think like a $500 or $1 million advisor, right? That's the difference. So a reporter once asked Helen Keller, is there anything worse than being blind? She said, yes, a person with sight but no vision. And I have to concur with that. I've been at this well over 30 years, and the biggest difference I can see between advisors is the ones who have the vision to achieve more, to think big, both in business and in life, and they achieve more. It's just that simple, but you can't make the excuses. You got to be able to think bigger. Okay, as long as you can go through the trouble of thinking, you might as well think big. Because the truth is, you have the freedom to be anybody you want, to do anything, go anywhere, and have anything, accomplish anything, especially in this country, especially at this point in time. If you're a woman in the Middle East, you don't have those freedoms. If you're in Ukraine right now, you don't have those freedoms. You're fighting for your life, literally. If you were born 100 years ago, you would not necessarily have the resources and the tools and the freedom to do what you can today. But between the internet and everything, the world has become very small and the resources are there and you can do anything, go anywhere, be anyone, and have anything you want. That's the truth. So the third thing, before the third thing, we're all afraid of failure, right? But there's a fallacy with the fear of failure. And that is you're thinking, that was my best shot, now what? So we're afraid to go for it. And I'm going to tell you how to deal with that later on. For right now, just realize that that's a self-judgment. That's all it is. You know, if you're a baseball analogy, sorry, that's all I can think of. You know, if you're a 300 batter, that means you only hit 3 out of 10 times you're up. And that's good enough to put you in the Hall of Fame. Same thing here. When I talk about guaranteed marketing methods, we're talking about $1 million plus leads. I guarantee they have $1 million or more, or 3 million or more, right? But you're only going to close 20% of them. But that's all you need if they have $3 million. You get 10 leads a month and you close 2 of them and they have $1 million or more, you're adding over 100,000 a year in your recurring income if you're doing assets under management. And if you're splitting that between annuities and whatever, I got guys who are going to getting ready to throw out of the business. 3 years later, they're making 600,000 or more, right? It's all self-judgment. You can't be afraid to take your best shot. It's all self-judgment, and it gets worse because then we go out and judge others. And that's where I tell you, when they're judging you, they're criticizing you, say, you don't want to do that. You can't do that. Okay. Recognize it's all in here. That's not how top advisors think, top producers think. So not only are we afraid of failure, we're afraid of everything, right? We're afraid that what if I don't make it? What if I have to move? What if my health goes? I'm working too hard. What if it's going to take time away from my family? All those excuses. That's a fear we have up here. But we also have fear of success. What if it works? What if I'm successful? Oh, I'm going to have to pay a ton in taxes and whatever. And you know, Max, how I hate attorneys and accountants. I don't want to deal with them. And life gets too complicated. And this and that. So we make up these excuses for fear of success. I'm afraid she won't love me, but I'm afraid she will love me. Oh man, then what do I have to do? I got to marry her and have kids and whatever. So we box ourselves into this corner. We have fear of failure, but we're also fear of success. And this is the point I want you to get. While the fear of failure can motivate you to a minimum level of safety and security, which is usually associated with the comfort of mediocrity, fear of success is bound to keep you there. Fear of failure can motivate you to a certain minimum level of safety and security, but that's usually associated just with mediocrity. Fear of failure is going to keep you there. It's going to plateau. So if you have plateaued, check your fear of success. Okay. Number 3, be specific. Well, we're going to talk about this more later on, but everybody wants to work less, make more, lose weight, and be spiritually fulfilled, right? The problem with those goals is they're not specific. And we're going to talk about goal setting later on. But top advisors realize when they're setting goals, they have to be specific. If you can't measure it, it's not a good goal. Being specific forces you to focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. So if you want to make more, what are you making now? What do you want to make? If you want to work less, what are you working now? I'm working 80 hours a week. I want to work 40 hours a week. I want to work 9 to 5, et cetera, et cetera. If you want to lose weight, what do you weigh now? What do you want to weigh? Most people won't say, this is what I weigh now, because there's all this judgment and criticism, whatever. That's like NASA saying, well, we really want to go to the moon and Mars, but we haven't gone there yet. We're so embarrassed. We're so ashamed, whatever. No, you put it out there. Okay, we're going to talk about how to do that in a few minutes. Right now, just realize if you're not specific, you're fooling yourself. Top advisors always know exactly, they can tell you to the penny what they earned, how much they owe, what their net worth is, everything. The advisor who is not a top advisor, well, I'm doing better than I was. I say, how's business? How are you doing? Well, okay, a little better than I was, not as good as I'd like to. It's all this fuzzy stuff. Don't be fuzzy. Be specific, okay? Even if it's a feeling goal. So I want, Max, I've been in the business 30 years. I want to feel appreciated. Okay, what situation will make you feel that way? Okay, do you need a corner office somewhere with a big window? Do you need your clients to say, hey, Greg, this is so kind of you. I never would have made it without you. You saved my life. Do you measure it by, do you measure by how many referrals you get? How do you measure that you are appreciated in the industry? You want the top award. Get it? Because those conditions we can make goals and take action on and realize. So even for the feeling goals, be specific. Okay, number 4, take action. All of this is meaningless if you don't take action. Take action and the universe will respond. I guarantee it. It may not react the way your ego likes, but it's going to react. Okay, it's a scientific fact. Newton's 3rd law of motion: for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. We can restate that in many different paradigms. In computer eats, we call it Geico, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't like the results you're getting out, change the input, change the garbage that you're putting in. Okay. Number 3 is karma. In the Eastern philosophy, they call it karma. That just means good action and bad action. And in the Western religion, Christianity, as you sow, so shall ye reap. So take it from whatever aspect you want, but you must take action. And don't worry, the universe is going to respond exactly the way you take the action. And if you don't like what you're getting out of life or out of business, you got to change what you're putting into it. That's what top advisors do. This is how they stay focused. What do you do if you get stuck? Right? I thought this was pretty funny. What do you do if you get stuck? Well, you're doing everything. You're centered in the morning. You're thinking big. You're being specific. You're taking the action, and it's not happening for you. It happens a lot. Double your goal. Double your goal. This one freaks them out. By this time, they're walking out the door, right? They're saying, Max, I can't even get done what I need to get done now. And you're telling me to double my goal. I didn't say do twice as much. I didn't say do it faster. I said double your goal. So what does that mean? What am I saying? I'm saying go after bigger clients. Raise your average revenue, target revenue per client. Add services that are valuable to those higher net worth clients, and you will make more money. You will double what you're doing now and get you out of that plateau. It's a very well-known common exercise that speakers do and coaches do. And if we had more time, we'd do it. If you want to 10 times your money, what would that look like? 10 times your business, right? And you'd write down, well, I'd need a bigger office. I'd need more help. I'd need this. I need to get out of the paperwork altogether. Goal, 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 goal. Turn those into goals. And now we just have a list of goals that will help you get to 10 times what you're doing now. So I just say double your goal. If you're making 300, we can get you to 600. I do it all the time. That's what I do for a living. Okay? It is not only possible, we're doing it. So if you're not, stop making excuses. And if you're stuck, the first step is to double your goal and see how you get there. Let me give you one more quick example here. You're making 250 and you want to make 500, or you're making 500, you want to make $1 million. And you say, well, Max, I'll make a specific goal. I'm making 500. I want to make 600. Prove to me I can make 600, and then I'll go for 700, and then 800, and then 900. That's fine, but it'll take you 5 years to get to where you want to go, and you already know you want to get to go there. But if you're at 500 and you want to make $1 million, and we make a business plan to hit the $1 million, right? We're just talking about whatever, 100 clients worth 10 grand each every year to you, just 100 of them. And I teach you how to get referrals. So you only need 50 of them really, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if you're at 500, you want to go to $1 million, you take the action and you fall short by half, you're making 750. Most advisors would be very happy going from 500 to 750. So it won't take you the 5 years to get to $1 million. Double your goal. This is consistent with thinking big and being specific, okay? In most cases, you got to become a contrarian. What does that mean? It means when they zig, you zag. When they buy, you sell. When they go left, you go right. Anybody know who this gentleman is? If we were live, we'd have a show of hands. This is Sir John Templeton, the Dean of Global Investing. He passed in 2008. He's one of my mentors. His work lives on. I highly recommend you look him up on the internet. He has a Templeton Foundation. It's got all the books he's ever written, both on investing and in life. And I would read them all. It's one of the major ways I got to where I am today. And Sir John, because he was knighted by the Queen of England for his philanthropic efforts, by the end of his life, he spent most of his time overseeing the works of 60 charities. So he became a knight, Sir John, and he said, everybody can't beat the market because everybody is the market. If you want to achieve superior results, you have to do something different. And I would even take it so far as to quote him every time there's a crash, and we're in dangerous territory right now after 12 years of a bull market, to buy when others are despondently selling and to sell when others are greedily buying takes the greatest emotional fortitude, but pays the greatest rewards. When they zig, you zag, right? When things are out of favor and the fear is running rampant, that's the time to buy. Most people can't do it, but those who do, those are the top advisors, those are the wealthiest clients. Or as another famous guru once said, ours is not the reason why, just buy low and then sell high. It rhymes, okay? Become a contrarian. To do this, you have to set unrealistic goals. Most people are afraid to set unrealistic goals. They take those baby steps. They don't want to go to the moon or to Mars. They just want to go to Hawaii. It's a miracle if I can just get to Hawaii for a week. Well, that's no great feat. Okay, that's not going to help you that much. People who say that's too unrealistic, they want only realistic goals. They want guarantees. They want safety and security, that mediocrity. That's not how top advisors go. Top advisors fly. Now, I'm not saying to be reckless and do things and spend a lot of money and time, whatever. I'm just saying you have to have the vision to set unrealistic goals. To succeed beyond your wildest expectations, you got to start with some pretty wild expectations. Stop thinking small. Stop making excuses. What if you make a mistake? It's easy. Again, if we were in a live audience, I would have you turn to your neighbor and say, so what? Big deal. And I would literally make them turn to each neighbor and say that. You just do it with style, do it with flair. Don't worry about it. I'm just asking you to take the next step towards that goal. I'm not asking you to risk a lot here, but start with the vision and just take the next step. Okay. Number 5 is commit. Make a commitment. Don't dabble. Most people, most advisors in their business and most people in life, they dabble. They dabble in the business. They dabble in marketing. I can't believe how many people I say, what are your 2 biggest problems? I've been doing this coaching for 26 years, coaching, training, speaking, mentoring. I get the same 2 answers all the time for 26 years, marketing and time management. So I said, what are you doing for marketing now? And you know what they say? Not much. They dabble in it. Well, if you dabble in marketing, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get baby steps. Okay. You're not going to grow the way you want to grow. So stop dabbling, make a commitment. This is a very politically incorrect phrase, but if you want to take the island, you got to burn the boats. You got to burn the bridges behind you. Failure is not an option. Okay. Make the commitment and you'll see that the whole universe will conspire to support you in those results that are right for you at that time and move you forward. But you have to take the steps and you have to commit. No excuse-atitis. Okay. Of course, that leads to saying those who can do and those who can't make excuses. So a good goal should scare you just a little, but excite you a lot. If you're not excited, don't get out of bed until you find something that excites you. You don't have to push yourself out of bed. Your goals, your vision, your mission will pull you out of bed. I wake up very early. I can't wait to get started. I have to force myself to stay in bed and get more rest. Okay. Last step is rinse and repeat. Almost nobody gets it totally perfect the first time out. But if you're not afraid of swinging and missing, it's all a game. Don't worry about it. You don't have to swing. You don't have, unlike a baseball player, if it's in the strike zone, you got to swing or you're going to get called a strike. Not so in business or in life. Even if it's in the sweet spot, you don't have to swing, but it's all a game. And don't be afraid to swing. You don't have to swing at every one of them. Okay. Don't judge it. It's not failure. It's just feedback. Adjust your sails, whatever metaphor you want to use, whatever analogy you want to use, but don't take it so personally. Okay. As Tony Robbins says, call it effective outcome development. If it's too threatening, all this stuff, too much pressure for you, just call it effective outcome development. You don't like what you're getting out of it? Put something else into it. Okay. Oliver Wendell Holmes, to paraphrase him, famous Supreme Court justice, it's not so much where we stand, but what direction we're moving in that counts. If you're facing the right way, you got all the time in the world. Keep moving forward. Keep taking the action. Pretty soon the universe will catch up with you and you'll be asking yourself, how much success can you stand? Take 100% personal responsibility. Watch out for miracles. I'm watching the clock. So I'm going to give you just a quick example of miracles. About some time back, I received an email in my inbox that says, how much would you charge to come and speak in India? Right? It was right next to the one that says, I have $10 million in a Nigerian bank account. But I couldn't resist. I have about 4 reply emails that I send out. It takes about 5 minutes, standard templates. So I sent it 90 days later. I'm at the Taj Mahal with my wife speaking to 1,500 financial advisors. That's a cardboard cutout of the Taj Mahal, or as they call it, the Taj. That was at the event, which someday I can tell you 2 hours just on that. It was quite an experience. This is a real shot. This is not photoshopped in front of the Taj Mahal. But you don't see is the tissues in our hands where they snap and then we go wipe, 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 wipe. It's about 400 degrees right there. So this was in the June part of the year, but it's sweltering all year round there. And this is her buying some fabric, which is we have to do, and then some other things. So watch out for miracles. They're going to start coming your way until you have to ask, how much success can you stand? How much do you really think you deserve? And let it flow. So in summary, get centered, think big, be specific, take action, commit, and rinse and repeat. Now, let's talk a little bit about setting those impossible goals. We talked about developing the mindset to help you stay focused. Now, how do you set those goals? We talked a little bit about them, but I want to go through very specifically. Number one, we didn't get why set the goals. It gives purpose to all your activity. If you're not focused on your goals, what are you doing all day long? What's your activity focused on? Facebook, whatever, whatever, whatever. I'm not saying you can't have Facebook time, but you'll build it into your time. Focus on your goals. That's what makes us happy, it gives us purpose, and it allows us to grow as people and our business. Everything is goal oriented. You're doing it now. Everything you do is built for your goals. The thing is, what are your goals? And for most people, it's to get more pleasure and avoid and get less pain, avoid pain. And those are pretty nebulous, ambiguous goals, and you live your whole life that way. Be specific. That's number one. Be specific. Stephen Covey nailed the problem and the solution. Some people spend their entire lives climbing the ladder of success only to find out when they reach the top, it was leaning against the wrong wall. Don't get to your best deathbed and say, what did I do here? Okay. I guess I'm saying you can have it all. And maybe not at the same time. The joke is, after all, where would you put it? But you can have everything, especially in our business. Add a 0 to your minimum account size and you just, 10 times your income. Okay. Stephen Covey also said the solution is the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. So we're going to identify how to find out what your main thing is. Number one, can't get there yet. We got to talk about fear. This is what's stopping us. Fear. We talked about fear of everything, fear of failure, fear of success. Ignore the dragon, it will eat you. The dragon is the fear. Confront the dragon, it will defeat you. So I'm going to put in fear. Ignore your fear, it'll kill you. Confront the fear, it will defeat you. Learn to ride that fear. Recognize it, name it, claim it, feel it, heal it, and you will take advantage of the might and power of that fear. Successful people don't ignore fear. They know exactly what their fear is. They're better off because they identify it and they identify the risks, and then they make a plan and they break it down and they go for it. And then they go for it one step at a time. They're not afraid to take the steps. That's the difference. They have fear, but they don't let it stop them from acting. And that slide was so good. It took me a year, an hour and a half to do, so I wanted to do that again for you. Next thing is lack. We're afraid of fear. We believe in lack, right? Lack of time, lack of money, lack of health. How do you feel about those things, right? All time management ultimately is self-management. You have to have the organization, the discernment to know what's important and not, to be organized to do it, which I'm going to show you some tips here coming up. And you have to have the discipline to know what you're supposed to be doing, to do what you know you're supposed to do, and the discipline not to do what you know you shouldn't be doing. That's all it is. You'll be happier for it. Okay. And the last thing is struggle. Life is a struggle. Life is hard. Why do people say that? It makes them feel important. Look at me. Let me tell you my problems. Next thing I said, no, let me tell you my problems, what I really went through. Oh, let me tell you. Make sure you're not part of the problem. Make sure you're part of the solution. Okay. How might you be making things more difficult than they have to be? Just fly through it. Let it wash off you like water off a duck's back. Give up the struggle. It's just ego. Don't get hooked on the drama of it all. Okay. All right. So some key questions to consider when you're doing your goals. Number one, what's the one thing you would do if you knew you would succeed? If you knew you couldn't fail, what's the one thing you would do? Just start there and build from there. And just from the opposite side, if you had all the time, money, contacts, energy, and resources in the world, what do you want to do? I love speaking. I'll speak to the camera. I don't care. Someday we'll be speaking in person. It's a lot more fun that way. But until then, we do as many webinars as we can, and we make them as entertaining as we can. Okay. What do you love to do? All right, now let's talk about setting these goals or these seemingly impossible goals. Number one, what do you want? We talked about being specific, naming it. It's the results. The what are the results you want to accomplish? Be specific, we talked about. State them in the positive, not no nights and no weekends. No, I want to work 9 to 5. That's it. State them in the positive and focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. So they have to be measurable, and you want the what. Number two, why do you want it? That's the compelling reasons. You got to get what we call emotional leverage on yourself. Turn those shoulds into musts. I must do this. Not, I really should go to Tahiti someday. I really should do this. I really should make more calls. I really should whatever, whatever. No, you have to must. You must get that emotional leverage on yourself. Okay? There's two reasons why you have to do this. Number one, when the going gets tough, you'll have perspective of why you're doing it. It'll help you stick in there when you lose a game, right? And also the opposite. If you want to go from 500 to 1 million, I guarantee somewhere along the way, you're going to get fat and happy. I don't want you to get fat. I want you to be really happy, but not get fat. And having the emotional leverage, knowing why you're doing this, will get you to the finish line. So even when things get easy, so you're not just sitting back buying boats and cars and cocaine and everything else. Richard Pryor, for those of you who remember Richard Pryor, look it up. It's in one of his acts on stage. He says, cocaine is God's way of saying you're making too much freaking money, right? What are you going to do when you're so successful? Be that person now. Act that way now and have compelling reasons why. You can use the carrot or you can use the stick. I prefer to use the carrot, keeps me happier. I don't like to beat myself up. So what am I going to do when I reach each goal? I'm going to reward myself. But if you like the stick, threaten yourself. What are you going to do if you don't reach the goal? I'm going to give $100 to charity every day that I don't reach this goal. I'm going to give my assistant a $5,000 check. And if I haven't made 25 phone calls by Friday, she gets to keep the check. Whatever it's going to take for you to take action. I like the carrot. But both of those are compelling reasons, right? The carrot and the stick. All right, we got the what and the why. We need the how. How are the specific action steps? You can't say I'm going to make more calls. You say I'm going to make 5 calls a day. And here's who I'm going to call. And here's what I'm going to say. And here's the point of those calls. Now we're being specific. Okay? Be specific. Break it down into the smallest manageable parts. You can't take on, I'm going to do my website this month. Well, that's too overwhelming. Redoing my website. You got to break it down into the parts. And you may have to, the first part may be to research what it takes to redo your website. And then you can plan the time and the content and everything else. So break it down into smallest manageable parts. And it may take a month or 2 or 6 to redo your website, but you'll get there. I wouldn't stop everything I'm doing just to work on a website all day long. People make excuses, do that. Anything not to engage, especially if the market's down and the world's falling apart. I'm going to tell you a little secret. I've been teaching a bear market seminar since 9/11. Now is the best time. The further down the market goes, the better it is. If you know what to say, you can pick up a lot of clients from all your competitors who are not picking up the phone. They're afraid. They don't know what to say. They're tired of saying, just hang in there. It's bound to get better. And the clients are tired of hearing it. So you have to come up with something else, but now is the greatest time to be a financial advisor. Okay. Having specific action steps is the basis for doing your time management. We're going to talk about that. Number 5, we got the what, the why, the how, and now we got the when. We want to prioritize, right? That eliminates the duplications. It resolves conflicting goals, and you start with the easiest ones first, right? If you got to eat a bunch of frogs, start with the biggest one first. Knock it out of the way, right? And then you can move on to the other ones. If you're afraid, then just start with the easiest one. Start with the smallest frog first, but you got to start eating the frogs. Okay. Prioritize. I'm not so concerned about deadlines. Deadlines are only optional. If you have clarity of mind, focus on your purpose, your mission, and compelling reasons why, you really don't need deadlines. It'll pull you out of bed in the morning. If there's nothing wrong, there's no judgment here. If you're not quite up to speed on these 3 things, put a deadline on it. It's fine. But realize eventually those are optional. You're just going to be in the flow moving forward. All right, we got the what, the why, the how, the when. Next is obstacles. These are the external excuses. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't have this. I don't have enough. I live in the wrong side. Flip those around 180 degrees. I need X amount more money. I need 50,000 more so I can hire somebody to do all my paperwork. Now we got a goal instead of an excuse that the paperwork is killing me. See? Flip it around 180 degrees, turn them into more goals, and then we'll go get the necessary resources. You will be left at the end with no obstacle, a list of goals, no excuses not to make them. But then we have the who, we got the what, the why, the how, the when, the obstacles, and then the who. And the who are the internal excuses. What kind of person, whoops, misspelled kind. What kind of person do you need to become in order to allow yourself to accept this goal? Do you have to be more patient? Do you have to be less patient and get to it? Do you have to learn how to say no thank you more graciously? Or are you the kind of person who needs to say yes to life and business more? You're not have a knee-jerk reaction of no. So it's different for different advisors. Take a look at yourself. What kind of person do you need to become? What, why, how, when, obstacles, and who. That's how you set great goals. List the personal qualities you need to increase or decrease or add or reduce. Turn them around and make them new goals. Once you have all that, you're going to have about 20 pages of goals in every area of life. Faith, family, friends, finance, fitness, freedom, and fun. Long, short, medium, and long-term goals. Mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, financial goals. Any or all of those, put them in the mix. I don't care. Doesn't matter, anything, all of them, but just get them out of your head and on paper, and then you're going to crunch them down into 1 or 2 pages of bullet goals. Get rid of all the extraneous, okay? Boil them down to the what, why, and the how, because the when, you can put a little 1 or 2 or 3 next to them, and there's no obstacles. We got rid of the obstacles. We turned them into new goals, remember? Okay. So what do you do with your goals? Look at them twice a day. Twice a day. Now, this seems like an overwhelming task, but it just takes 5 minutes. It takes so little time when you only have 1 or 2 pages of bullet goals just to review with your morning coffee or something. It takes so little time, you can be tempted to skip it. Don't. It takes so little time, but it is the most important thing that you can do because what you put your attention on grows. That way, if you say, gosh, I didn't get to work out yesterday because my kid needed me or whatever, okay, but you know what's on your list for today. Today's Wednesday, and you're going to redouble your efforts to go work out. It becomes that much more important. If you're not doing this stuff, what are you doing all day long? All right. In conclusion, goals provide direction, meaning, and purpose. And without it, life is like a piñata. You're just walking around blindfolded, swinging wildly, hoping to hit something and just praying that some candy is going to drop your way. That's the most biggest illustration analogy I can think of without goals. So don't do that. Make time to implement daily, and that's what we're going to talk about next, a little bit of time management. We talked about developing the mindset, how to set the goals to stay focused. Now we're going to talk about, for the next 10 minutes, how to organize your time for maximum productivity and least amount of stress. Okay? We talked about, ultimately, all time management is self-management. It takes discernment, organization, discipline. If you don't manage your time, other people who haven't had the benefit of this training you're going to get in the next 9 minutes, other people will be more than happy to manage your time for you. It's called email, phone calls, ridiculous things. I think I might have the record. I tried to coordinate a meeting with 4 people for a tax reduction plan. Me, the financial advisor, the client, and the tax attorneys who were doing the plan. And it took 27 emails back and forth over 2 days. Ridiculous. Remember when you could just pick up the phone and call somebody? If you don't manage your time, others will be more than happy to manage it for you. Put systems in place. That's how I learned how to do this stuff. Okay? Don't, just because somebody emails you doesn't mean you have to email them back. Plan your time. What does your ideal day look like? What would you do? You want to put that hour of power in the morning. You want to take your kid to school. You want to talk to your spouse over breakfast. Okay. So put it all into what I call an ideal daily or weekly schedule. The benefits are that this keeps you out of overwhelm. That means you're not moving too fast or too slow. You're not in a hurry and you're not procrastinating. If it's 11 o'clock on Friday morning, you know what you're supposed to be doing. Okay. Keeps you out of overwhelm. Everything's compartmentalized. Everything's organized. And it reduces the illegitimate distraction. There are legitimate ones. We're going to talk about them. Okay. But those are the benefits of an ideal daily schedule. It helps eliminate fatigue. We're Zoom fatigue. We were talking about this before the webinar started. COVID fatigue, Facebook fatigue, you name it, we're fatigued. Okay, an ideal daily schedule will help eliminate that. Puts you back in control of your time and allows you to be proactive instead of reactive. So here's how you set it up. Include all your goals. That's what goes on your schedule. I'm going to show you an example of the schedule in 1 minute. Include all your goals, including time to work on your future business, where you want to go. Don't just put paperwork, paperwork, paperwork. You'll never get there, right? Put both your personal and professional time, no miscellaneous time. Here's what it looks like. All right, let's spend a few minutes going over it. Now, this one is color coded. I like it. And this is just a composite, right? Put the weekend in there, Monday through Friday, put Saturday and Sunday. If your goal is to sleep in Saturday morning or Sunday morning or whatever, put that in there. So when Max calls you on Friday afternoon, says, hey, Greg, I'm rolling through town. Let's get together and whatever tomorrow. You get to say, hey, I already have a commitment. That commitment might be working out or sleeping in or whatever. If it's working out, say, Max, why don't you meet me at the gym at 6 o'clock and then we'll go for breakfast afterwards. Okay. But Greg gets to work out. Okay. So this is just a composite: waking up, exercise, dressing, dropping the kids. 8:30 is a huddle with your assistant, with your paperwork people. Now, this is a 30-minute huddle, right? What I did, as I said, look, why don't you break it up into 30-minute increments from the time you get up to the time you go to bed, right? So we're talking with our assistant. We're prepping cases. You notice it doesn't say email or email yet. Then we're making marketing calls and sales calls and service calls, right? Marketing calls, sales calls, and service calls. There are differences among them. If you don't know the difference, you need to learn. And then growing your business time, business development time for an hour every day, except Wednesdays. We'll get to that. Grow your business. You must invest that time. Most important hour of the day. If you want to go from 500 to 1 million. All right, now it's lunchtime, but before we go to lunch, we're going to do a little 15-minute huddle with our assistant and say, how did your morning go? Da, 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 da. Okay, here's what I want you to do this afternoon. Okay, then you're going to go to lunch 4 days a week and hit Rotary on Fridays. And then we're going to return some phone and email, case prep, and here are our client appointments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? In this case, they're looking at 5 appointments a week. That's 25 a month. Sorry, 20 a month. That's 100 every 5 months, and you get a month off for vacation, right? So if you can do that and you're meeting with clients twice a year, all you need is 100 clients. That's it. Each worth $10,000 a year. That's your business plan. I'm just throwing that out as a simple example. So you see how we back that up into how many clients and how often we're going to meet with people. All right. Now we have project time. This is redoing your website, whatever, whatever. There's a million projects we all have. Make a list and every day work on your projects. The most important thing you're going to do is right here. This is my #1 time management tip. It might be on a slide somewhere, but I'm looking at the time. So let me give it to you right here. 5 o'clock, you see in yellow. Plan your next day. Plan each day before you go home. So if this is Wednesday, the 23rd, I want to know tomorrow, what am I going to tell my assistant I need done? Whose case am I going to work on? In most cases, it's not going to be the one right after this. You might be working a week in advance. Which appointment am I going to have? What am I going to do to grow my business? Which calls am I going to make for marketing, sales, and service, if that's up, right? It's over here. Which calls am I going to make? And for what? I'm going to call Greg Morabito and talk about that March 23rd webinar, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to call that center of influence and develop that relationship. I know if I call this guy 6 months from now, we will be best buddies and we've been doing all kinds of business together. We all have that, even after you do all your low-hanging fruit. But I need to know specifically who you're going to call. Okay. And then plan each day before you go home. Take about 15. It may take a little longer in the beginning. Once you get the habit of it, it's 15 minutes to make your daily to-do list. These are just categories. We need specifics. Even for the gym, it may be Monday, I'm going to do crunches. Tuesday, I'm going to do upper body. Wednesday, I'm going to do this, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Then we have re-entry time, travel time home, re-entry time, dinner, right? Time with my wife and kids. Maybe go for a walk. The weather's getting good out there. And then study. We're studying for our new designation. and then we're hitting bed at 10 o'clock. We're sleeping 7.5 hours. We got Saturday and Sunday. All right, let's talk real briefly about emergencies. Why would you put emergencies in here? We can't schedule the emergencies, but I know about once a week, I'm going to get 1 to 2 hours of emergencies. People who can't wait. So what I'm going to do, if he calls here, I'm in the middle of marketing calls on Monday. My best client calls, he or she needs me. So I'm going to take an hour to help them. And then I'm going to double up on my marketing and sales calls on Tuesday or Wednesday. Usually just switch this around. So it's called time shifting, whatever you want to call it. But you can't schedule this and eliminate things that you know have to be done, like emergencies or paperwork or whatever, meeting with your assistant. So this one tends to be the same thing every day. That's because I like the colors and I'm that way. You know, if I like to make my calls at 9 in the morning, then that's when I'm going to make them, right? I don't want to do them, you know, this guy has them here and then here, this advisor, right? And that's okay. Make what works for you. You want to take Friday afternoons off to coach your little kids' little league team? That's fine. Okay. That's all I can think of off of there. I'm sure you'll have more questions on it, but let's go ahead and go through it. You'll quadruple your results. Most scientists, people who study this thing, say we use about 10 to 15, 20% of our brains, depending on what study you're looking at. But it's the old 80-20 rule. If you go back here, and you do this, are you going to accomplish everything every day? No. But you'll get about 80% of it done on any given day or across a given week. And that means you are bumping up your productivity from 20 to 80%. If this chart is everything you say you want to accomplish personally and business-wise, and you can get 80% of it done instead of 20%, you have just quadrupled your productivity and you've bumped it up from 20 to 80%. And you can cheat. You can get away with ignoring it for a day or two and try to clean up the day or two before, but you're going to feel it. It's going to unravel. And all of a sudden you walk in, you're pumped up. It's 9 o'clock. You've done everything you need to do in the morning. You've been up for 2, 3, 4 hours. And then you say, now what? And you don't want to stop and reorganize everything at that point. Do it before you go home the night before so you can hit the ground running each and every day. Some final thoughts on time management. Professionals work by appointment only. I get a lot of pushback on this, but we're constantly screaming, complaining. We want this to be more or less of a business, more of a profession. Yeah. Can you get your doctor on the phone right now? How about your dentist? How about your plumber? No, you get the front office, you get the voicemail, you get somebody. Salespeople answer their phones, and usually they go, hello. You can hear them panting. That's what salespeople do. Professionals work by appointment only. Have a system in place to have your appointments, okay? If you want to be more professional, and it'll help you organize your time. Now I'll tell you what everybody else does. Turn off the phone, the email, the text, the bells, the whistles, and the walk-ins, right? Close your door. You'll tell your assistant, I'll see you at 11:45. You've got your marching orders for this morning. If you can't do it, go on to something else, right? I gave you a big list there. I'll see you at 11:45. Close your door. There's a lot of silence and go to work. Now get on the phone, prepare for your case, see your clients, etc. So I wanted to leave that for last because you can't just say, if you want to focus more, turn off everything. Yeah, you have to have a plan for what to do, what you should be doing, okay? Close your door. In summary, develop an elite advisor mindset, set impossible goals, and organize your time. If you do all that, I got to tell you, after all this for an hour, it's the 80-20 rule. 80% of you are not going to do anything, but 20% of you are going to do it, or you're going to call me to do it, and you're going to make 80% of the money that's being made in this business. The bad news is the other 80% of you at the bottom get to split only 20% of the revenue. And that's where most advisors are today. So I hope this has helped getting you to focus, eliminate the noise, and refocus. My question is, which group must you be in? Which group must you be in? Now, I'd really like to, this is pretty good, but I'm looking for those elite advisors and those who want to fly. So I'll ask you to paraphrase the same 3 questions that I did in the beginning. How much do you want to grow your business? How fast would you like to grow it? And I'll take you there. So we're right at the top of the hour, amazingly. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do 97 slides in 60 minutes. So I want to pause right here and turn it back over to Greg, and we'll field your questions. I'll stay on for about 30 minutes and do some group coaching. If you do have specific questions, you can email me, max@maxbolka.com. You see it there on the screen. Please put in the subject line, Alpine Brokerage Follow-up, so it does not get lost. Mr. Greg, let me turn this back over. Are you there?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks, Max. Thank you so much. What a great presentation. I hope you guys really got out of this what I got out of it. I mean, I'm in the business 38 years, and still there's some stuff that you just forget because you get busy, and there's a lot of noise, and you got to be able to drown out the noise. So Max, that was really, really well received. And quite frankly, I have to tell you, it's transferable to business, because that's the big issue. A lot of people, unfortunately, they say, well, I'm learning something, but does it really translate into my practice?
Oh, yeah.
I can only tell you, you've got a bunch more fans, I'm sure, today.
Thank you. I've been speaking for MDRT for a long time.
Yes. We do have a question. It says, tell us a little bit about financial advisor exit and succession planning services.
Yeah, so I've been coaching, mentoring, speaking, training financial advisors for 26 years now out of my 40 years in the business. And I started out just by elite advisor program or just having a coaching program. Then I graduated, I built my practice up to an elite advisor. And now I've got all these advisors after 26 years, they're making big money. They're getting older and they need to sell. Now's a great time to sell. And the interest rates are still low, money is plentiful. So what I do is I have a pool of buyers around the country. In the beginning, I said, I find the buyer for you. The truth is, I got a ton of buyers lined up. So I introduce you to those buyers, but I'm working for you, not for anybody else. So I introduce you to potential buyers. I help you structure the deal. I've done a lot of these over the years. And in most cases, the advisor doesn't have a clue how to go about selling their practice, and they're only going to get one shot at it. Now, you get two shots at it if you do it a really poor job and have to take it back in shambles 2 years later. So I help you structure the deal. I find the buyer, help you negotiate the deal, walk you through the process, educate you through the whole thing on day one so you know what to expect, time frames, costs, how it all works, the process. Then I start to introduce you to buyers that I think would be a good match based on our conversations and you agree are a good match. Then if we get that far and you want to do a deal, we structure the paperwork, we structure the agreement. And again, I'm working for you, not for both you and them and not for them. And then we pull the trigger and you walk away a happy camper. So I don't know if there's more specific question, but that's kind of the process we use. It takes about 9 months to a year to do it, unless you're doing a fire sale. If you're doing a fire sale, we can have you out in a week, but you're not going to get the money that you should get. But if you're thoughtful and you want to do this, you think about a year ahead. And here's the problem, Greg. Advisors are no different than any other business owner. We think we're going to live forever and work until the day we die. Yeah, there's Greg nodding his head. Okay. So don't fall into that trap. Even my financial advisors, I've been coaching for 17, 18, 20 years. I don't think I have anybody 20 years. I think 17 to 18 years. They're over 70 years old. And I have to beg them to talk to buyers. I said, just talk to them. So if something happens tomorrow, you can pull the trigger and we don't have to start at square one. And so we get them talking. And then they have a birthday and they text me and say, find me a buyer tomorrow. And so now we're only 4 to 6 months away instead of 9 to 12. But don't be in denial. We're all going to leave our business someday. The facts are over 50% of all exits are involuntary. Look it up. That's not Max Bolka talking. They're involuntary. And of those who do sell, 75% of them a year later, they asked, are you happy? 75% no, because they didn't take the time to plan. It's called exit planning, succession planning. It's not push a button on 12/31 and you're out. It's the sale of a business. Okay, so I walk you through the whole thing. Okay.
The follow-up question to that is your focus, is it in a particular region or nationwide?
No, I'm nationwide with everything. I built a nationwide investment clientele. I sold my practice. I work nationwide. I'm not in the country right
Good.
now. You can do this from anywhere. I'm currently traveling. I'm not in the US. And a funny thing, one of my friends said, "Oh, your office looks just like it did where?" I said, "It's not my office. That's the virtual background." They said, "Oh, you're really organized." I said, "I'm not that organized." So I'm nationwide. Doesn't matter. I'm always as close as the phone. You pick it up, there I am. Okay.
Excellent. They asked you're in India, but it was like a joke.
No,
Anyway.
not in India.
If you're in
I'm in beautiful Victoria, British Columbia on the West Coast. Spring is springing here.
Beautiful.
My wife has some family here. And so we're up here enjoying it for a while. And my phone is a US phone. I can travel anywhere in the world. We can do Zoom from anywhere. In the old days, that couldn't happen. But one of my goals was to have a lifestyle business, and technology has helped that. Zoom has helped that. I love it. I laugh when advisors complain about Zoom. I'm like, well, it helped me, and I'm much more efficient. I don't have to travel to New Jersey to give this talk. So it's all how
we
you
had
look
a
at it.
question asked. We had a question asked by a producer in advance of the meeting, and they wanted to know, how do you coach producers to coach clients on technology, on the use of technology?
Yeah, on the use of their technology specifically. Yeah. So you have to make the time like everything else. How do you teach them what to expect? Clients can live with just about anything if you tell them in advance. So when you sign them up in your presentation, when you plan on signing them up, you tell them this is one of the benefits of doing business with you. You're going to teach them how to do the technology so you guys can communicate, whether it's Zoom or looking up their account online. You have to have a program for doing that. And you have to be compensated for that. So I'm not saying you charge them an hourly fee, but if your minimum account size is $250,000, you might want to think of raising that to compensate for the time you should have to put in to train your own clients. Yeah. And now I also want to say, from a time management standpoint, you don't train them. Your assistant trains them. Your associate advisor trains them, because I don't pay you, Mr. or Mrs. Producer, as a client. I don't pay you to teach me technology. And I don't care what your technology problems are in-house. I pay you for two things. Number one, to solve my financial problems, to help me get to my goals. And number two, to take the time to explain it to me. So I want you talking to me about my retirement and what I should do with my money and my investments and my insurance and my taxes and whatever. Not sitting there saying, now press the capital button, press your keyboard. Think of it this way. I know I get long-winded, but we have time here. We're okay. When you go to the dentist, what does the dentist do? They fill and drill. That's what they do. They don't do the x-rays. They don't do the cleaning. They don't fit the crown 27 times. Is this okay? Let's polish it down. Okay, let's do this. They fill and drill. And then they go to the next room and they fill and drill. And they have 6 assistants and 6 chairs doing that, or however many. That's what I want you to do. So the minute they say, how do we get started? This sounds good, Greg. How do we get started? I want to become a client. Here's my $1 million. You get to say, great. So there's about 20 minutes of paperwork we're going to do. And Sally's going to come in here and do the paperwork with you. I'm going to check on some things and I'll be back, just like the dentist. Okay.
Right.
Now you think that's no big deal, but even if you just did one a day, you're picking up a couple hours a week. 50 weeks in the year, it's 100 extra hours. I can make a few phone calls in that time. Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't teach them the technology, you have somebody else. And if it's a vendor, the vendor can help you teach them the technology. Okay.
Excellent. Good. Any other questions? Please write them in the box and we'll continue to read some questions that came in advance. This is another technology question that came in advance. The technology question is, how do you, as an advisor today, operate in a world where we're not meeting with people and they're more and more looking to do things online? It's different from the last question, but I understand what they're saying. You know, when we started in the business, everything was very personal. And now it's like everything is like, well, go to the website, click, click, click. How do you talk to producers about?
Well, excuse me. I'm going to give you my wise guy answer first. We're doing this virtually. I'm not even in the country. Okay. But having said that, and Greg hired me after he saw a similar talk to MDRT virtually. Okay. So it can be done. I suspect this might be a younger advisor, and that's how I'm going to approach this, because it's more difficult right now. I'm going to back up from the beginning. Guys our age, Greg and mine, where is the money? Where is the money? If you wanted somebody to put in $100 a month and that's it, you can get them to do it with a marketing funnel and online and never talk to them. But if you want to be an elite advisor and take home $500,000 or more, you're going to have to be face-to-face, at least on Zoom. You can do it on Zoom. Okay. If you can do it in person, even better. Some of the most successful advisors I know still go to happy hour and do it on the back of a cocktail napkin. And they'll write down, I'll give you an example. They'll write down 3 things. Control, what do you want to leave to your kids? A, wealth. B, control. C, values. And you pick one. What's most important to you? He says, everyone is important. He says, yeah, but what's most important? He says, well, my values. Okay, that's where we'll start. It's called comprehensive legacy planning, da, 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 da. It's just like putting 3 of anything in front of somebody. They pick one, they're in. All right, now, that requires face-to-face. People with money, people with millions of dollars want to be face-to-face, expect to, not to be face-to-face, but they expect the hand-holding. Don't tell me, I won't buy anything if you send me the paperwork and tell me to fill out. I don't have time. If you can't take the 20 minutes or have your assistant walk me through the paperwork, because question number 1 is going to say, tell me about this. I'm like, well, I don't know what you mean. So now I'm stuck, right? I don't want to fill out your paperwork. If you can't fill out your paperwork, then I'm not going to do business with you. Okay. So whether it's on Zoom or whether it's face-to-face, people with money, they've worked all their lives. They have, we'll call it $10 million. They have a certain amount of wealth. They expect personal service. That's why they worked this hard. If I'm not going to get the personal service from you, you don't have to wash my car and walk my dog while I'm in your office, concierge service. You don't have to. But you got to take the time to explain it to me and to fill out your own paperwork. Don't make me fill out your paperwork because I don't know what it means. And if you're not willing to do that, I'll go somewhere else, because if you're going to force me to do it online and do it myself, I don't need you. I'll do it online. I don't need you. And I can usually do it for a fraction of the price, or today, free. I can trade for free. Wasn't that fun? 30 years ago, well, up until a couple of years ago, cost me money to trade. Now I can trade for free as much as I want. So personal service is what you have to offer, and you have to identify to your client what that means. We'll teach you the technology. We'll speak in face-to-face or on Zoom, however you want, Mr. and Mrs. Client, twice a year. This is March, so it's March and September, right? And then on the off quarters, January and July, is that right? Or December, yeah, January and July, we're going to call you just to check in and say, how's it going? Da, 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 you know, oil's up to 100, what we're going to buy, we're going to sell. I want to talk to you about your account, or just checking in, see if you have questions. The point is, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect who's about to sign up with me today, we're never more than 90 days away from talking to each other. And if you need me in between, give a call and here's what's going to happen. And you tell them, you're not going to get me, you'll get whatever. And here's my callback policy. Here's what, and if it's an emergency, text me and da, 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 da. And so they know. They know how to manage communications with you. Okay. But people with money want the personal service.
Last question that I have, what would cause you to amend your goals, and how often should you revisit them?
Man, that is a great question. Great last question. And I didn't give it to you. That's a real question from somebody. Your goals should change over time. They should change as you change as a person. If I'm 25, I'm looking to party as hard as I can. If I'm 65, I'm looking to rest as much as I can. Your goals should change over time. You get to a point where you say money isn't everything, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So as you change as a person, number two, as some of your goals are accomplished. You call me today after this webinar and say, Max, I'm making 500. I'd like to take home $1 million. Show me how to do it. And we make a plan. And the first, second year, you're doing great. And you're up to 700, 800. And you call me and say, you know what? That's enough. I don't need to do more. I don't want to hire the next person, open up the next branch, blah, blah, blah. I want to go lay on a beach twice a year for a month. I want to take 2 months off, June and December. Great. So your goals just change. So they should change over time as you change as a person and as you start to accomplish some of your goals. But your goals and your business plan, even though they change over time, does not negate the value of doing your goals and doing a business plan. That's what creates the focus.
Good. Excellent.
Okay.
I don't have any more questions. If there's any last questions, please type them in the box. Otherwise, I think we can close the meeting. Max, you were fantastic as always, and
thank you.
Really we appreciate everything you do, and I look forward to your next presentation at MDRT.
It was really my pleasure. Thanks for all of your help and Dan's help in setting this up, and I hope everybody got some value out of it. I know we have a recording so they can watch. If you have any questions, just call or email. And like I said, if you email, please put an Alpine Brokerage follow-up so it sure is to land in my inbox. Thanks, everybody. Take it to the max.
All right,
Thanks,
thank
Greg.
you.
Bye-bye.